Hey, good evening and welcome to the Paw Report. I know I stole that little bit from my good friend John Oliver, but it wasn't really intentional. I just kind of did it. So, hello again and welcome to the Paw Report. I am your happy host, Paul Kravitz. And I would just once love to hear Oprah say my name, Paul Kravitz. It would probably sound better than that. Anyway, we have a great show for you tonight. We have a little news, we have a little weather, we have a little sports. All right, we don't really have a whole lot of sports, but we are going to have a fair bit of news, a little bit of news. Weather, it's raining out right now, or it's going to rain, and possibly it might be sunny. There could be snow somewhere, there could be flooding in other places, so be careful. So, weather person, really, the computers do all the job. You're just kind of reading off a teleprompter. That's kind of what I do. All right, hey, weather people, gotta respect them. All right, later on, we have the Go F Yourself Award. But first, let's see who's in the chat tonight. We have my beloved wife, Jennifer, thank you. And Andre. Andre, we missed you today. So I do see there are a few other people who might be joining, but they haven't said anything in the chat yet. So I will come back to the chat a little later and see if they have shown their little faces, and we can say hello to them too. And you'll forgive me because I'm looking this way. I have my office set up differently this week than I did last week. So I'm getting used to how everything is set up. And before I had this big TV in front of me and my computer over here. But now I needed my computer here because when I'm working normally, well, not working my day job, but working on the show, I had to work like this. That's the international symbol for working like this. All right, so I moved things around and made things and arranged the camera in such a way that if I go to any of the scenes that I use during the show, I will look identically the same. I'll be in the same spot and everything. So it has been a kind of a heck of a week. We got more COVID, obviously. More stuff with Afghanistan. We have Norm Macdonald passed away. Very sad about that. Who else? What else happened this week? Flooding everywhere. One story that I did read was cigarette maker giant Philip Morris International, makers of the ever popular junior high Marlboro and the high society Parliament cigarettes, has taken control, get this, of a British inhaler maker, company by the name of Vectura, Vectura. Now, as you can imagine, there were some objections from the healthcare community and some charities. And in a statement on Thursday, Old Smoky secured nearly 75% of Vectura's shares, therefore making it the majority shareholder. Now, better than 45% of the Vectura shareholders accepted the takeover in between puffs of their Marlboros and sucks on their inhaler. So, CEO of Philip Morris International, Jacek Olczak, coughed, "We have reached an important milestone in our acquisition of Vectura. We are very excited about the critical role Vectura will play in our beyond nicotine strategy." So, with the takeover, Philip Morris boosts their efforts to generate more than half of their net revenue from smoke-free products such as e-cigarettes and respiratory drugs. So, Vectura has manufactured inhaled medicines for such companies as Novartis, GlaxoSmithKline, and they use that to treat lung conditions, including asthma. Now, critics of this abomination said that they would continue to fight the $1.4 billion takeover. And today, 35 charities, public health experts, and clinicians sent a letter to the UK Health Minister, Joe Churchill, that's J-O, asking the government to intervene. Is this deal in the public interest with one of the largest cigarette manufacturers which damage lungs buying a company that treats lung disease? I think it's sort of a, what do you call it? Self-serving? Maybe? Is that the right word? Self-serving? I mean, you have on one side, and then later on there, from the same company. I don't know. I find it to be somewhat, I don't know. Any thoughts from the peanut gallery? There's a few of you watching. I appreciate that, but a little comment might not hurt anybody. Go ahead. Have an opinion. I do. And if I'm doing it, I'm cool, so follow the cool guy. I'm going to just kind of show these on screen because I like when I can. Oh, I got to get rid of this. Hold on a second. There we go. Andre said, in the words of Arnold, bullshit, all of it. Stop it. Get to the chopper. All right. And let's see. Jen said, it's profiting off its own victim. It is a nasty cycle. I agree. So I'm not the only one. I mean, I know there's a bunch of folks, but in this circle of hell we call the Paw Report, we're in agreement that it's sort of self-serving and a nasty cycle. All right. I am going to take just a really quick drink because my throat has been really bugging me lately. Oh, God. Which is the perfect segue for the Paw Report health update. All right, not a lot going on in the health area. Again, I mentioned my throat was a little bit scratchy. The ab vag is no longer. It is actually healed over. But now, I'm not going to show you, but now I have these two pockets. Let me stand up and just kind of give you a view. I'm wearing a t-shirt tonight, but there are these two pockets right here that are just like, they feel like they're like balloons, like water balloons. Like I got the scar right here. Sorry, you can't see that with that. I got the scar right here. And then on either side, I got this like balloon thing happening. It's really weird. It's funny. Right now, I'm tensing my stomach and it's really tight, but I really don't know how to loosen it up. I can't. No, I can't loosen it up. It's always tight. So I may have to talk to my doctor about that. We'll see. Other than that, the eye thing, I'm going to my doctor next Wednesday. So the day before I do this next report, I'm going to have another needle in my eye. That's the international symbol for needle in the eye. You got to say it. I'm getting what? A needle in the eye. So that's happening next week. So we'll see how that goes. Just cleared my calendar to get my checkup with my gastroenterologist. I can't say any of these friggin' words, but I cleared my calendar for that appointment, and that last year was the beginning of my cycle of stuff that happened to me late last year and early this year. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for this year that crappy things won't happen. Yeah, I guess, you know what? That's pretty much it for the health update. Alrighty, back again. So, let's take care of some housekeeping. So, here we go. You can watch the Paw Report every Thursday night live at 9 p.m. I will announce if I'm not going to do a show, but if you want to watch it anytime, you can go to Apple Podcast. You can subscribe to my stuff on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Instagram, and Twitter. Now, if you're watching me I'm sorry, if you want to be a guest online or you want to suggest a guest, maybe a GFY nomination or just a general comment, email me, thepawreport@gmail.com. Sorry, I'm crooked. Or you can just find me on Facebook at The Paw Report. All right. Click out of there. All right, I'm back. I did see Stu sneak in there. And Happy New Year to you too, sir. Good Yontif, Pontiff. Sorry, that was one year the Pope is in town for Yom Kippur back in the late 70s, early 80s. And we kept running around Shoal going, Good Yontif, Pontiff. So, oh boy, the memories that pop into your head. So I did want to take a few moments. And talk about the plans for the Paw Report for the future. I'm going to announce my co-host, Stu Wiener. No, I'm just kidding, Stu. You're not going to be my co-host. Don't get excited. Don't get excited over there. You're not my co-host. I would love to have you as a host or a guest one day, but we could talk running. Yes, that would be awesome. But the future of the show, I have been looking at a lot of different things, and I am finding that I would much rather run the show out of YouTube than Facebook. YouTube gives me a little bit more flexibility with the show. So I'd like to move to YouTube at some point, but in order for me to move to YouTube, I need subscribers to subscribe to my channel because I want to get a permanent URL, which you only get after so many subscribers. So I'm trying to build up my subscribership on all of my social media, but specifically, I want to get YouTube up and running. So if you are so inclined and you haven't already, subscribe to my, if you look on my timeline in Facebook, I did list links to all of my social media accounts. So you can just click on it, go to it, and then subscribe to it. And then you can share that out to your friends and say, hey, my dopey-ass friend Paul has this little rinky-dink show. He's pretty proud of it. I think it's okay. Why don't you just help him out, make him feel better about himself? He did lose his gallbladder this past year. And just subscribe to his stuff. And then this way, he'll stop aggravating the hell out of me to have people subscribe to his stuff because then he can just shut the F up, be on YouTube, and be happy. See how it all works out? International symbol for see how it all works out. Oh, boy. So, if it's okay with you, it's okay with me to share anything that I post regarding the show. I don't post a lot of other things on YouTube much anymore, besides stuff from my show. I wish I did. I got a friend, Brian, who just posts so much stuff on Facebook, and it's interesting to see what he's doing like every single day and what he's listening to on the radio. And he just bought a new motorcycle, and he's a Renaissance man. He's changing his entire life around, and I'm not jealous in any stretch. I'm very supportive of what he's doing because I think he needed it, and I think it's great. And God knows I would love to buy a motorcycle. I would have loved to have bought one, but years passed and I just, wouldn't do it now. Just not because I don't love motorcycles. I love the couple times that I did ride a motorcycle. I loved it. Felt great. And it felt, honestly, I felt safe. I don't know why, but I felt safe on it. I had my helmet, the right gear, and I rode, and it was great. I didn't go too, because I'm not a big fan of speed. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, and I apologize. Subscribers, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcast, and I promise you I am working on getting more shows upgraded or uploaded. The reason why I like YouTube is that everything's right there. I mean, all the raw shows are there, and then what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to replace the raw shows with the edited shows. So the edited shows are going to take out the rambling, some of the ahs and ums, maybe some of the technical gaffes that happen during the show. So that'll be uploaded usually within a week. I try to say within a week, but life is funny that way. So all the raw shows are still available. And I have to say, I forgot to mention this and make a deal about this in my promo stuff, but This is actually my 1 year anniversary. Not tonight exactly, but it's around the 1 year anniversary that I started doing the show with Ecamm and then uploading it to Podcast Garden. So I think it's pretty cool that I've been doing this for a year video-wise, and the show has evolved. I've gone back and watched some of the earlier shows, and it's amazing to me how bad they were. This might be bad, but that was like, bad stuff. And not so much bad like, all right, it was bad. I can't even sugarcoat it at all. So anyway, so that's my plea. And what gaffes? There are plenty of gaffes, Stan. Just, it's like weather in New England. You don't like it? Wait a minute. It's going to happen. Trust me. But having said that, speaking of gaffes and mistakes and what have you, I think it's about time we roll into what was voted the #1 segment on the Paw Report, the GFY Awards. Alrighty. Well, first and foremost, I have to let you know that our committee met and we decided that we are, for the time being, going to continue calling the GFY Awards the Cruisy, after our wolfy looking but sometimes difficult to look at straight on Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz. Now, why? It's just because the committee just decided, we're holding this up. We're not making a real decision yet. So why don't we just keep it the same, or we reconvene sometime after New Year and we'll play around with it. So, gonna get on my soapbox just for a minute before I announce who the winner is. This is kind of an expanded edition of GFY, so please bear with me. So, my little editorial is that, in my humble opinion, COVID vaccines have saved lives that otherwise may have been lost. Now, it may not seem it, but I do respect one's choice not to get a vaccine. However, you can't have it both ways. If you're not going to get a vaccine, then it would be great that you mask up when you go outside or go into a store, I should say, or a public place where there are a lot of people. You should social distance. You should be doing many of the things that you did for the whole of 2020 and into 21. And this is all in the name of being a good neighbor. It's not political. I'm not talking politically here. I'm talking about being a good neighbor, looking out for the next guy. Okay? So in that vein, this week's award is going to a doctor. And I say doctor because they don't really act like one. Okay? This doctor, her name is Simone Gold. And she was speaking at a conservative church in Thousand Oaks, California. And her speech was riddled with misinformation. She told people to avoid vaccination against the coronavirus. As an alternative, she pushed drugs that have not been proven effective. These same drugs that have not been proven effective, she's also offering to prescribe to the audience in exchange for a $90 telehealth appointment fee. Now, this is the good doctor talking to the congregation at the church about, just listen to the clip.
Don't text me when you've gotten a positive test. I don't want to hear it. I've told you ahead of time to get the medicines. It can take a week because we're so swamped.
Now, almost everything Gold said in her 45-minute talk was contrary to the best science and medical standards of care for treating COVID-19. Now, again, it's my humble opinion, which is not subject to fact checking, that this woman is a disgrace to the medical profession. She's doing more harm than good, and I have to think that goes against the Hippocratic Oath. And there are those that agree with me. I was reading that the Federation of State Medical Boards issued a statement in late July warning that, quote, physicians who generate and spread COVID-19 vaccine misinformation or disinformation are risking disciplinary action by state medical boards, including the suspension or revocation of their medical license. So while Gold is speaking to packed houses, aka super spreader events, ICUs are filling up with unvaccinated people getting intubated and putting on respirators. So to quote a lot of my friends who tend to lean conservative, and I'm just quoting what they say a lot, let that sink in. And again, this isn't a political statement, it's a public health issue. So I just want to be clear about that. So anyway, the cruisy this week goes to Simone Gold. Now, I'm sorry, Simone, you don't earn any respect from me for me to use the DR before your name. It's supposed to be the Simone Gold. You can go self. Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. Stan, you jinxed the crap out of me tonight. And yes, Andre, her snake oil is the best around. So, all right, that concludes our Go F Yourself segment. And what did I have up next? Oh, just some simple promos. That's all. I need to get a drink. Maybe you need to get a drink. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about some other things. So you are watching the Paw Report right here. Facebook, YouTube. I'm not sure where you're watching it, but wherever you are, thank you so much. We will be right back.
Do you have a nominee for Go F Yourself? Email thepawreport@gmail.com. The Paw Report will return in just a moment. God help us all.
Hello, my name is Andrew and you are watching the Paw Report. Having known Paul for some time, I only this to say, he is a real piece of work. See, I am a computer-generated AI, so I have to say anything he types in. Darmok and Jalad. At Tanagra. Darmok and Jalad on the ocean. With his arms wide open. Paul, you are such an asshole. The Paw Report will return in just a moment.
Hi, my name is Janice, and you're listening to the Paw Report. Good choice.
You're listening to the Paw Report, and that's on you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Kravitz. You are listening to the Paw Report. Good luck. Hope you have a good day.
Hi, this is Paul, and you're listening to the Paw Report. You know, it's kind of sad when you have to do your own promos. Yes, it is a little sad that I have to do my own promos. Now, what is absent from my regular viewers here, what's absent from my promos this week is my promo for my good friend Mark Scalia's Radio Irregardless. The reason I'm not playing it is because it doesn't have accurate information. Mark has transitioned his show, Radio Irregardless, which he airs on Wednesday nights. Not every Wednesday night, but every so often Wednesday nights on a fairly regular basis. But he now broadcasts exclusively on Facebook Live. He used to do it on another service called Mixler, where I used to do my show, but that was audio only. Didn't get to see this. So I took the promo down because I don't have anything new for his show, so I figured I would just do a live read. Hold on a second. Wednesday nights on Facebook Live, you can watch Radio Irregardless with your host, Mark Scalia. It's a non-standard blend of something and something. So watch Radio Irregardless on Facebook Live, Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. Please subscribe to Radio Irregardless on Facebook Live for updates on when shows will air and show times and show places, and subscribe to Mark Scalia on Facebook to learn about where he'll be performing. Sorry, lost my place. Where he'll be performing as a very funny stand-up comic here in the Boston area and around the globe. All right, maybe around the U.S. and Canada and maybe the Caribbean. But no, Mark is a good friend. He's very funny. If you get a chance to see him live in a very safe environment, please do. And that would be great. That would be good. So subscribe, radio regardless. I do see that Mark is online. Good to have you here, brother. And yeah, so that's that. So, all right, I've delayed long enough. We're in the third act. And I know the title of the show was The Art of Sleeping. And I guess I was going to talk about that. I had come up with a whole lot of thoughts about the art of sleeping. And I want to talk about it because sleep has been something that has evaded me for much of my life. And I wanted to just kind of share, I guess, my experiences with sleep deprivation, which I did have diagnosed back when I was living in Seattle. I had that for about 5-6 months. I really had a problem, like I wasn't sleeping at all. I was up for days at a time. And I would catch like 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, or whatever. So I've when I was younger, I could sleep like the Dickens. I could sleep like no problem sleeping when I was younger. I think by the time I turned like 21, I think my sleep habits changed. And I'm curious, because of the people that are here, I'm curious if any of you have like noticed any changes in your sleep patterns around that age, or am I just sort of alone? Because the stuff that I'm reading, it's like that every 7-year thing, stuff starts to happen. Like every 7 years, stuff changes, things move over. You know, in the last 7 years, I lost my gallbladder. I mean, I miss my gallbladder. But I did start to notice a change when I was 21. And I think part of that is probably because I started, just like staying up late at night because I could. I'd go out to clubs, then I'd go to work 3 hours later, and then it just became this pattern of being up all night because I was young and stupid, and I wasn't getting my sleep. Of course, I was abusing my body at the time because I was eating, which led to, obviously, diabetes. Sleep apnea. That's one thing that I haven't had a problem with yet, I say, but I understand that is horrible. My sister has it. I know that you have it, Andre. But yeah, I don't know if I could deal with that. I guess you have to deal with it. But when I got through it, when I started my comedy career, it was like all no holds barred. I mean, it would be to the point where I would be out doing a show, then hanging out with friends and getting home at like 4 or 5 in the morning. Sometimes I would go straight to work right from being out for the night. It was ridiculous. And I did that for 5-6 years. And then I moved out west, and it became that I started working nights. So now I was working, second shift, working 4 to midnight. And good God, if that doesn't, I'm not going to burn my F-bomb yet. If that doesn't with your sleep, nothing will. Because your body is not meant to do that. Your body is meant to rise at sunrise and go to bed not much past sunset. But 4 to midnight wasn't the worst. But then I started working midnight to 8. And it was somewhere in between the 4 to midnight and midnight to 8 is when I got the sleep. Maybe they didn't call it sleep deprivation. I forget what they called it, but I was definitely deprived of sleep. And it was probably the worst part of my life, second worst part of my life, really, that I can actually remember moments because I was awake so much that maybe many times I wasn't very coherent. But it was to the point where I would be sitting on a couch, mindlessly watching TV, and then I would try to lay down for a while. I would lay down and try to sleep and just give my body a rest, give my eyes a rest from the TV. But it was just awful. And then on top of it all, I was traveling 3 hours north to go see my girlfriend who I was seeing at the time. And doing that, still not sleeping, and being expected to be an attentive and loving boyfriend, which I tried, but it was difficult. I mean, my mood definitely switched. I definitely became a different person towards the end of that. And I don't remember what it was that I just started slowly coming out of it. I finally somehow got my cycle in sync. Even while I was working midnight to 8, I got my cycle in sync so I could sleep. So it would be I'd go to work, I'd work from midnight to 8. It took me only a few minutes to get home from there. I'd get home, I'd make myself some breakfast, and then I'd probably go to sleep around 10:30, 11. And then when I got up, would be probably like 7 or 8. I'd get up, have a little dinner, and then I'd go to work. And then in the middle of the night, I had a lunch. You know what I mean? It's a lunch, then a dinner. But it slowly came around, and I finally got right with it. But, ever since then, I've had this thing where I can't go to sleep much before like 12 o'clock. If I go to sleep any earlier than 12, even if maybe 11:30, but if I go to sleep any earlier than that, I am up at 2:13. By 2:13, I am awake and like, hey, let's go ride some bikes. Oh, it's this way. Caw, 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 caw. Okay. He's doing shadow puppets. That's just not right, doing the shadow puppets. I miss Kevin Meaney. So if I go to bed much before 11:30, I am up like that, and it sucks because I am just up, and it'll take me hours to get back to bed, and by the time I get back to bed, it's time to get up for work or take the kids to school or whatever. It's horrible. But if I go to bed at midnight, I will usually sleep straight through until 6:30, 7 o'clock when my alarm goes off. And I feel great, most part. I mean, other than the creaky bones and everything else. Oh, I forgot to talk about that in the Paw Report next week. You'll get that next week. So yeah, it's so freaky how my schedule, and I've tried to pull back like a half hour, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, up to a half hour, and try to get my sleep back to like 11 or 10:30. But I very rarely am able to do that because I find myself waking up. And I'm just like, screw it. I'm just going to go to bed around midnight and that'll be good. So, and after my hospitalization earlier this year, I mean, I was sleeping all hours of the day and night. So, I mean, there were many nights while the family slept around me, I was up watching Everwood on HBO Max. So, thank you, Everwood, for being available to me to watch over again. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a good show. And it ends all right. They canceled it, but they got a good ending in. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that's... I know people are commenting. Let me kind of take a look at the comments and see what's happening here. Let's see. Robin. Oh, how could you do that? That sounds horrible. I'm just kidding. That's like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could work out for that long and feel that great. Back in my mid to late 40s, I started taking up running. And people have heard me tell this story before. I've shown the pictures online before, but I took up running and I was actually over 300 pounds. I was 305 pounds when I took up running. And I was living in Tewksbury at the time. And I remember going running in this subdivision at night because I was embarrassed that my hulking frame was running around this neighborhood. And I just, I stuck with it. I would go out every time and I would just, did my couch to 5K, like, okay, run for 30 seconds. And I'm like, fuck you, run for 30 seconds. I'm running for like 5 seconds, and then I'm going to pant for 25 of them. So I do it. And over time, I started losing weight. Over time, I started getting a little faster. Now, again, faster for me was going from a 20-minute mile to a 15-minute mile. And then I think my personal best was like a 10-minute mile, but a lot of it was downhill. But anyway, I took up running, and you talk about feeling great. I had the runner's high all the time. Had it all the time. And to be honest with you, during this time I was running, slept like a baby. And the problem with that was that I had 2 babies at home, and I still slept like a baby. So I had to wake up every morning, change my own diaper, then go take care of the other 2. So TMI, Paul, TMI. He's telling stories about pooping his diaper. What's wrong with him? All right. So moving along. You know what I forgot to do? Jesus Christ. Where am I? Where am I? No. No. Jesus. It's the professionalism that I enjoy. So what I was supposed to be doing is, during the show, I was supposed to be doing this. Just popping these little things up while I talk. Like, I don't even notice them. They're not even there. I'm just supposed to be showing them up and just having them pop up, and then they disappear all by themselves, and I'm supposed to talk like they're not really there. But sadly, I didn't create a button on my control panel that gets me to that screen, so I was locked out of that screen until I opened up another thing so I can push this button and just pretend like it's not even there. It's not there. I don't see what. You see something? I don't see anything. So I did say Jesus Christ on Yom Kippur. Lucky I didn't say Jesus tap dancing Christ on Yom Kippur. But while I was running, I was sleeping really well. And while I was sleeping well, everything was kind of clicking. But then my marriage fell apart. And things started getting a little crazier, and I wasn't really able to run much because of the craziness. And again, I went back into bad habits of staying up too late. And this is like, now you got to imagine, at this point, I was unemployed. I was not working. I was only taking care of the kids. So I would be up all hours of the night doing whatever. I was still editing, so I'd be up editing. But if one of the kids got up, I would take care of it. Not that Lauren didn't ever take care of it. It's just she was working, and I understood that. So I would get up and take care of the kids. That was all. And trust me, I loved it. But the sleep thing evaded me while the kids were young, and most parents can attest to that. So then after the marriage ended, I got into a situation where I was living... we were still living at the apartment. Then I got evicted from the apartment. Then I went to go live with my mother's house. That was a challenging endeavor that I had to get through. And again, my sleep was completely effed up there. The kids and I crammed into one bedroom at my mother's house. It was not a pleasurable experience. Just because there was no room for any movement. Moving forward, got into I take that back. My first relationship out of marriage was a horrible one, and therefore went back to sleeping like shit because I was hurt and depressed and everything else. So it's just been, crazy throughout those years. And then, met Jen, we got married. Again, my sleep has been okay. But again, I still find myself in this midnight thing, getting to sleep by midnight, or getting to sleep at midnight, or leaving a little later. Sometimes I go to sleep at 1 o'clock, but I find that that's the way my body is wired right now, and I don't think I have the capacity right now to unwire it or rewire it. So that's how I feel about sleeping, and I love sleep. I love sleep. Sometimes I'll take a nap during the day, like a 20-minute or a 40-minute nap or something like that, and I'll wake up in 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, I feel like crap. But then after that, it's like, wow, I could have had a V8, but instead I had a nap. Yeah, I mean, sleep is good. Sleep is wonderful, but then hold on a second. Hold on. We've got about 10 minutes left. Let me tell you about my elbow. Okay? This is a phenomenon that's been going on for a little while now. Somehow, in the middle of the night, while I am sleeping, unbeknownst to me, I am doing this nearly every single night. Okay? Every single night I'm doing that. Now, when I do that, we're going to do it on this arm, okay? When I do that, guess what this is? Little less flat, but it's my wife, and it's her head, and I am whacking my elbow into her head fortnightly. And I can't explain it. I have no explanation why nearly, if not every single night for the last several months, I don't know, maybe it's been going on longer and she's been kind not telling me, but I am putting my arms behind my head while I sleep, effectively elbowing her in the face. I'm a rotten husband. You're rotten to the core. Who does that? Putting your elbow in your wife's face. That's just not right. It isn't right. It truly isn't. And I apologize to you, honey. Profusely apologize to you. Yeah, it's a strange phenomena that we haven't really been able to explain. That I am thankful for every one of you. Every single one of you for showing up and hanging out with me. Well, there are some days where I think to myself, I'm not going to do a show. And then I think, in my selfish little head, I'm sorry, I'm slow on the uptake. What's wrong with you not getting Stanley's jokes? That's just not right. Not getting jokes. Your father gets the jokes. What was I saying? I forget. Anyway, it's getting close to quitting time. Oh, talking about doing the show. I think about not doing a show, and then in my selfish little mind, or my self-inflated ego mind, I think, but what about the people who are looking forward to watching the show? And I actually believe that you are looking forward to seeing me and what I'm going to come up with next. Or maybe you're going to see how badly I'm going to screw up and how many gaffes I can have. Stanley. So I enjoy this, and I'll go back to my speech from before about subscribing. Help me out. Help a brother out. Get some folks to kind of subscribe and maybe come in and watch the show. Maybe I can watch the counter go up a little higher each week. It would be great. Interact with the show. Email me and tell me, who you are, what kind of guest you would like to see. There are people I have in mind that I'm trying to figure out how to get them on, but I'm working it, but I'm not very good at it. So if I had more ideas, I could probably get better at it. Just admitting. Last week having Ethan on was fantastic. I loved having him on the show last week. He's a great guy, so funny, very just kind of a laid back, but so knowledgeable about things. I like to get more guests like that. People who know things that can teach us things. I'm basically bullying my friend Craig at work to come on. I actually want him to be my co-host, but he hasn't got time to be a co-host because he's working on his house and things like that. So I can understand that. But I said, hey, you can spare a half hour to be a guest. So I got him coming on as a guest in a couple weeks. We got Andre coming back hopefully in a couple weeks at some point. We're going to talk about the status of movies, the idea of direct to like HBO or direct to Paramount Plus, the day they release them in theaters, and the good and bad of that. Will a movie benefit from that, or will a movie, lose money because of that? And we'll also talk about, we'll pick a few movies and then we'll pair the food with them, as we often do with Andre, because that's a talent that I have yet to master. All right. I think this show is gonna come to an end in a couple minutes. I think what I also need to do is let me see, where is it? Don't mess with me. Let's see if it's gonna happen again. It didn't happen. Yay! Okay. Oh, there was one thing. Let me play this. I meant to do this earlier, and I took the time to do it, so you're going to experience it. This is the audio of Simone Gold when she was talking to that audience.
Don't text me when you've gotten a positive test. I don't want to hear it. I've told you ahead of time to get the medicines. It can take a week because we're so swamped.
Okay. Now, when I was listening to that, I go, I've heard that voice before. Where have I heard that? And then it hit me. I heard it here.
Calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. Please send the cops immediately.
All right, here we are. So yeah, I they could be sisters. They sound very much alike. I don't know if you agree with me, but they do sound very much alike. Simone Gold, Doctor, and Central Park Karen. You never see them in the same place together. Peoples, have a great night. We'll see you next time. I wish you well, and I guess that's that. Good night.